Hi everybody. This video is going to be a review of collaborating using Git. This is something I've seen a lot of people, struggling with. It can definitely be a tricky process that leads to things getting kind of tangled up, leads to some headaches. So apologize for not doing this sooner, but I just wanted to go through and break down the steps that we've been using to collaborate on Git. So I've set up an example here. And yeah, I've got right here the steps. So I'll go through these one by one. And let's take a look. So I went ahead and I used my Pursuit email to create a second GitHub account. I called that J Goodman Pursuit. So you can see I've got two browser tabs open here. One of them I'm logged in as J Goodman Pursuit. And one of them I'm logged in as my normal account, J Goodman. So I did that just so that I can sort of pretend to be two different people, go through the process of Git collaborating. So I went ahead and I created a sort of example project. I called it Archaeology Pictures. It's just a static web page using HTML and CSS, no JavaScript. And it's just here, I'll open it up. So I'll do open index.html. Here it is. So that's all we're looking at, just for some pictures of some archaeological sites. And I'll sort of go through what the process would look like to add a feature to this if this was a collaborative GitHub project. So I made this on my computer. So right now it only exists locally. If I go in here, I'll make this full screen, and I do git status fatal, not a Git repository. So I haven't created a Git repository yet. So that's the first step. I know you guys probably know this part already, but I do just want to go through from start to finish. So I'll call this Archaeology Pictures. The owner is me. This is going to be a public repository. That all looks good. Okay, so create repository. So I'll go through these steps here. I'm going to do git init. I'll make my first commit, and then I'll do this. I'll copy this actually because this is a long URL. So Command C. Okay, so git init. Now it's a Git repository. So if I do git status, I can now see what's tracked and what's not tracked. I'll do git add. I'll just add all. That's fine for now. And I'll add the remote. And I'll do git commit initial commit. Okay, so I made this little diagram. Where am I at right now with this? So I have the local version of the project. So main branch. That's the only branch so far, so I'll just put that in here. Let's use a fancy font. Not that fancy. Main branch. Okay, so I've got that locally. The remote, there's nothing. So here's the remote version I'm looking at on GitHub. Doesn't exist. I mean, it exists. It's just empty. There's no code in it, right? So I made the code locally. It hasn't been pushed to exist on the remote yet. The remote is called origin. So what I did when I did git remote add origin and then this URL, I named that remote. I called it origin, which is pretty much always what you're going to call these remotes, the remote repositories. So, okay, my local has just one branch called main. My remote has nothing. Let's fix that. So I'm going to say git push origin main. Now you'll usually see me put in the little -u here. All that means is just I want to do this as my default GitHub user on my computer. Not the most important thing. I guess I'll skip it for now because by default that'll know to happen anyway. Okay, so git push origin main. Great. So let's look at my remote version now. I'm going to refresh the page. And I can see, yes, here we go. I've got all my code. There's my HTML. Here's my images. Cool. Okay. So now I just did a push from my local main branch to the remote main branch. So now this exists in both, and it's totally up to date. It's totally synced. So when I said git push origin main, I was saying I want this to go to the main branch on the remote which is called origin. So now these are synced up. I've got my main branch on my local version and my remote version. So the local version is literally just like my laptop's hard drive. The remote version is GitHub. So let's make some changes, but I'm going to make these changes as a collaborator. So I'll go ahead in here. How do I add a collaborator? Is that in settings? Yes, settings, collaborators, add people. I'm going to add J Goodman Pursuit. There he is. Great. Okay, cool. So I've just added my first collaborator. Very exciting. So again, just a reminder, I know this has the potential to be a little confusing. I'm working as two separate people now, right? So I'm pretending that this account, John Goodman Pursuit, we'll call him JGP, is a different person from my main account. J Goodman, we'll just call him J Goodman. So now I'm JGP. I've just been invited to collaborate on this exciting new static web page of archaeological sites. Very excited. Oh, looks like I have unread notifications. What's that about? Here, I've been invited to join archaeology pictures. I'll click on that. I accept. Okay, cool. So yeah, let's get collaborating. So I have this great idea for a new feature. Let's talk about how I can implement it. So first I'm going to need to clone the repository. So I'm going to go over here. I'll open a new browser tab, just, because I am sort of pretending that this is a different laptop. In fact, in my projects folder, I'll make a directory called JGP laptop, as if this was, a different person with a different computer. So in here, I'm going to git clone the archaeology pictures. Again, to avoid confusion, I'll just close this version out first. Right, because this is a second laptop, I do need to clone it again. There we go, clone, cd, archaeology pictures. Oh, I'm also going to go ahead and open up keychain access. I'm going to do that just so that I can, if I search, I already did it earlier, but if I search GitHub, I can see, I have a saved GitHub username. I'm just going to delete that with the delete key so that I can push from this alternate account. Okay, so I'm here in archaeology pictures. I cloned it. I can do open index.html and I can see it. Looks good. I'll open up the code. Okay, so I want to add a new feature. So I'm going to go through these steps. You can go ahead and screenshot these if you want. I think this should be a pretty good resource. So step one, I'm going to create a branch for the new feature and I've switched to that branch. So, okay, git branch. I'll call this feature JGP. What am I going to do? I guess I'll add another archaeological site. I'll add Knossos, which is an old Greek palace on Crete. Okay, cool. I've got this new branch. So I created it, but I'm still on main. I need to do git checkout JGP add Knossos. Cool. Some of you have also been using git switch. That works fine too. So you can use git switch or git checkout. But the important thing is you can see now here, it tells me what branch I'm on. So that's very helpful. That's a good thing to always keep in mind. Okay, so now I'm in a new branch. So now, even though I just joined this project, I'm a collaborator. I don't want to just change everything. Now I feel comfortable editing whatever. I'm not worried about breaking anything. I'm not worried about messing up anyone's code because I'm on my own branch. And so, the worst that could happen would be I mess up my branch. I just create a new one, right? So there's no danger that I'm going to mess up other people's code here, which is a comforting thought. Okay, so let's add some changes. First of all, I'm double checking. Okay, yes, I'm on the branch. Cool. Let's find a nice picture of Knossos. Where we go? Yeah, how about this? The dolphins. That's nice. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna save image as, I'll call that Knossos Greece. You'll notice I'm keeping the same title format there. That's a good habit to get into. Sorry, this is just a confusing thing about my pretending to be on two laptops thing. I saved it to J Goodman's version, not to JGP's version. So, I'm calling that Knossos Greece. I'm just going to go delete that other version. I'll pause for that. Cool. And yeah, so the thing about the file names, it is just nice to keep to a format with these kinds of things, right? So I've named each of them. a description of the thing, dash the country it's in. Once you establish a format like that, it's just good for consistency. It makes things easier to edit. It makes it easier for your collaborators to create new images and know what they're supposed to call them. And the main thing is it just cuts down on the risk of things like typos. We've all experienced the type of typo where it's like, oh, I forgot that it was called Knossos-Greece and not Knossos_Greece or something stupid like that. So you kind of save yourself some potential for that happening by keeping your file names consistent. Okay, great. So I've added that. Let's add it to the images here. So just to be clear what I just did there, I did Option Shift down arrow key to duplicate the line. I'll call it Knossos Greece. Give it that alt. Okay, cool. Let's see how that looks. Great. What a beauty. Okay, cool. So while I'm here, let's make more than just that one change. What about the styling? I kind of think they could be a little more square. That might look nice. Let's try that. Yeah, that's fun. Cool. I think that looks a little better now that there's 5 of them. So, okay, great. I've made 2 changes. Now, technically, when you make 2 different changes like that to 2 different places, I could have made a whole new branch for, change the styling. It's okay to play a little bit loose with that stuff when you're just making little tweaks. The important thing is that I'm on this branch rather than being on main. But I will say the more strict you are about that, the less likely you're going to be to run into merge conflicts and those types of things. Okay, so what's the next step? I created a branch for the new feature. I switched to it. I added the feature. I made my code changes. Now I'm going to check in with my collaborators and confirm it's ready to be merged into the main branch. So I would probably take a screenshot of this. Maybe I'd get on a Zoom meeting with Jay Goodman and I'd say, hey, what do we think? Does it look good? And luckily I am both of those people and I say, yes, looks great. Okay, so I've checked in. Now I can merge it in to the main branch. So let's do that. I'm going to switch to main. Oh, wait a minute. Commit. I guess I'll put that in step 2. Commit your changes. That's important. So let's do that. Git status. Okay, I have 3 things to be committed. Makes sense. I'll just do git add index.html, git add style.css, and git add assets/Knossos. Okay, cool. Git commit. I'll call it added Knossos image and adjusted styling. Great. Okay, cool. So I've committed my changes. Now, I could push it at this point, but the thing is I don't really need to have a remote version of this branch. Here, I'll break up the local version into 2 sections here. There's my laptop. There's also JGP's laptop over here. So JGP, the collaborator, started by cloning the main branch to get a copy of that main branch. And then he switched to a new branch. He created a new branch here locally. I'll use an arrow. Called, I think it was called JGP add Knossos. Cool. So I made a new branch. And now what I'm doing is I want to merge this branch back into here. And once I've done that, then I'm going to be ready to push it to the remote version of main. So for me to push this branch to a remote version of this branch, I could do that. I could just push that up like this, sure. But there's not really much reason. The only reason I would want to do that would be maybe if I wanted someone else to be able to see my branch to like help me with debugging or something. But this is not really important. I'm not going to worry about that step. I am going to instead worry about this step. So I've got the branch. I'm now pushing it, merging it back into main. Okay, so what are the steps? I committed my changes. I checked in with my collaborators. Okay, let's switch to the main branch. Git checkout main. Okay, so I switched. Now, It's important that I did that after committing my changes. If you have uncommitted changes, even a tiny little change, you just change one character, you can't switch between branches until you commit that. It needs a place to sort of stash that, that change. Cool. Okay, so make sure your local version of main is up to date with the remote main. Okay, so that's an important step. I want to make sure that this is the same as this. I want to make sure they have the exact same code. Now, in this example, I know that they do, but in real life, I don't know what Jay Goodman is off doing. Maybe he's made changes. Maybe while I was working on my changes, he was also working on his own, and the main branch has changed. You know, in theory, with perfect communication, I would already know that, but I want to just check. I want to make sure that these are exactly the same as each other. So I'm going to do that by saying git pull. Great. Git push. Well, let me actually, before I do that, just do git status. Yeah, okay, nothing to commit. So I can skip the git push. I don't need to worry about that. Well, no, I better do it just in case. Git push. My username, who am I pretending to be? Jay Goodman Pursuit right now. Great. I went ahead and saved my tokens over here. I will be changing those tokens after this video. So don't let your tokens be public like I just did. Okay, great. So everything up to date. There was no need to push, so totally fine. Okay, great. What next? Merge your branch into the main branch. Okay, so first of all, what I just did, I did git push and git pull. Notice that was from main to main. I'm not from this branch trying to pull from main or anything. You never want to cross branches like that. So you never, if you're pushing JGP add Knossos, you're pushing it to the remote version of itself. If I'm pushing and pulling main, I'm getting it from the remote version of main. So okay, main is synced with main now. Let's merge these two together. So I'm going to say git merge JGP add Knossos. Okay, looks like they're merged. Okay, merge your branch with the main branch. Now push your local version of the main branch to the remote main branch. So that's this last step right here. I want to take these changes and push them up to the remote version. Git push u origin main. Great. Okay, so now why did I do all this stuff? It's just good to be specific. If I had just said git push, that would have worked too. Because by default it knows, you're on main, you must want to push to main. But when you can be specific, I think it's nice too. So, okay, great. So that is done there. So my remote main branch now has the picture of Knossos and the adjusted styling. If this site were deployed, those changes would be made now on the deployed version. While we're here, let's deploy it anyway. I think that's a good thing to review whenever we can, because being able to deploy through GitHub pages is just one of those things that gives you so much power and control over what you're doing. I really encourage you guys to take advantage of this feature. So I'm Jay Goodman again. I'm the regular me, not the collaborator, who created this repository. So I have the power to go into settings and go to, where is it? Pages right here. So settings, pages, deploy from a branch. Yes, sounds good. I want that branch to be main. Cool. And I'm going to say save. Okay, great. So it's deployed. Well, it usually takes a moment actually, but in a minute I will be able to see it fully deployed on the internet. So I'll pause and skip that waiting time. Okay, great. I only had to wait about 60 seconds there. And now here it is. Your site is live. I can click that. And there we go. I have a link now that I can share with anybody. So the site has been deployed fully to the internet. You can see JGP's changes have been made because they were pushed to the main branch. And yeah, I just want to really hit again on this feature because it is so useful for making just anytime you want to make a web page, you want to host some photos or a blog or a portfolio of your work, anything like that. You can host it online. You don't need to worry about those like long loading times or anything like that. This right here is a link that you can send to anybody. They will be able to see exactly what you're seeing. So I would just copy this link and then go to wherever I wanted to, paste it in Slack, in an email, and whatever. So yeah, if you want to have a blog or post photos or post videos or anything like that, this is a super easy way to do it. Well, maybe not perfect for videos, but those other two things, great way to do that. And I know, the link doesn't, it looks a little weird, right? Like people would be like, what is j-goodman.github.io/archaeology pictures? But I do kind of feel like nowadays people are less, the internet, it's less important to have like a catchy domain name like, archaeologypictures.com or whatever. People are pretty used to just like clicking on a long link if it's from a trusted source and just navigating there anyway. So yeah, if you have something you want to share with like friends and family, or even something like a portfolio that you want to put out there for potential employers, this is a good way to deploy it. You can also set this up with a custom website name. Plenty of resources on how to do that online. I have done that with a service called Namecheap. They were pretty good for buying a domain name if you are interested in doing that. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Git. So let's see what's next. I guess now that we've done this, I want to go through this one more time just to review those steps and also talk about conflicts and how to resolve them. So, okay, I'm Jay Goodman again. I'm not the collaborator, so I will close out of this local version, which is on JGP's laptop, and I'll go back to my local version, the Jay Goodman local version. I don't remember where that was. I'll just use open index.html. Okay, so here I am. So I'm Jay Goodman now. I'm over here working on my project. You'll see we don't see Knossos anymore, and the images aren't square anymore. That's because I haven't pulled JGP's work yet. I haven't done git pull from the main. So I'm still working on this branch right here. And this branch does not have any of the changes that were made to this branch or anything like that, because I haven't pulled from here yet. And I won't, actually, because let's pretend that I've been working at the same time as JGP, right? We've been coding at the same time, and so I couldn't have had access to his changes because he hasn't pushed them yet. Okay, so yeah, here I am on my local version. So let's go through the steps. One, create a branch for the new feature and switch to it. Okay, so I want to add a new photo, I guess. So I'll make a new branch. I'll say git branch JG add. I'll add those Pueblo Cliff Palaces they have out in Colorado. So okay, cool. And now I will switch to that branch. You'll notice I only typed the first two letters, and then I just hit tab, and it was able to autocomplete for me. Okay, cool. So just to go back to our diagram, what did I just do? I made a branch. So let me copy that again. So now I moved from this one over to this one. So this is essentially just a copy of the main branch that I have created. Let me try to get those. Yeah. And yeah, this is what I'm going to use to build this feature. So let's check it out. I guess I got to find an image. Okay, cool. So I'll go to tools here. I'll say size. I want large pictures. Yeah, this one seems nice. Let's check that out. Okay, save image. What kind of image is it? It seems fine. Okay. I'll call it Cliff Palace, United States. Am I in the right version? Yes, I am. Archaeology pictures, assets. Okay, cool. Great. So, cool, here it is. It's a WebP file, not a JPEG. It's not ideal. If I had more time or wanted to spend more time on this, maybe I would go find a JPEG. I don't really trust this file type, but it works. So, okay, image source is assets / Cliff Palace United States.webp alt Cliff Palace United States. Probably not accurate that they call it a palace, but that's what Wikipedia called it. Okay, let's see how that looks. Cool, looking good. While I'm here, I'll add a background too. I'll say body background color is black. Okay, and you'll see no dot in front of body there because that is a tag name, not a class name. So this is a class name, it has the dot. We can see that in the HTML file. Body, tag name, image container, class name. Okay, so you can probably already see this is going to lead to some problems, right? Because where's this? Where are the dolphins? They're on the deployed version, but they're not here on my local version. So we do probably have some conflict ahead of us, but we can deal with that. So let's go to the steps here. So I created a new branch and I switched to it. I added the feature. Now I need to commit my changes. Okay, so git status looks good. Git add index.html, style.css, and yeah, assets. Oh, git add assets. Great. I don't really want this stuff, so cool. Git commit m, add Cliff Palace photo and black background. Cool. Okay, so now I've got this branch with changes on it. To go to the diagram here, what I want to do now is I want to sync this branch back into my main branch. So I want those, that's kind of weird looking. I want these to be updated to be the same as each other. So I want this branch to be the same as that branch. Looks a little different than this one. Great. So yeah, I already, when I created the branch, it was a copy of this. Now I've made changes. Now I'm merging those back in. Although, of course, not until after I've checked in with my collaborators. Hey, John looks good. Yep, John looks good. Okay, cool, done that. So let's merge it into main. So I'm going to start that process by switching to the main branch and making sure my local version is up to date with the remote version, which I'll tell you right now, it's actually not. So git switch main. So this is why this is an important step. I'm now going to check that this main version is up to date with the remote version of main. So to be clear, what I'm doing here is I'm checking that this, my local version of the main branch, is up to date with this, the remote version of the main branch. Okay, so I'm specifically going to say git pull origin main. Cool. So I actually did that a moment ago, so that's why it's saying already up to date. I had to just take a second to crack at it, but yeah, so I did get the changes from the main branch. So I know now that I have the changes from here pulled down to my main branch. I can verify that if I look at my local version here. I can see, great, it's the remote version. I'm not seeing the Pueblo Cliffside Palaces thing, right? Because I'm now in my main branch, and that was added to this branch, which I haven't merged in yet. So that's good. This is what we should be seeing. Let's do git push as well. Sorry, git push origin main. Great. Okay. I don't think I had anything there, but good to know now that these are fully up to date. So these are fully synced. I've pulled, I've pushed, we're good. So what's the next step? Merge your branch into the main branch. So that means I'm going to merge JG add Pueblo Cliff Palace into main branch. Git merge conflict. Automatic merge failed. Okay, so makes sense. So I'm going to go into my code here, and I'm going to go to the source of the conflict, which I can see happened in index.html. Let's take a look. Okay, two different versions, and you can see what this notation means. I'm about to go click this resolve in merge editor, but first take a look here. You can see the current version, Knossos, the new version, Cliff Palace. So it's telling me basically like, hey, I see these two different versions. One says that this line should be Knossos. The other one says it should be the Cliff Palace. What do I do with this? I'll tell it what it should do. So I'll say resolve in merge editor. Okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to accept incoming or accept current? I guess I'll say accept combination since that's an option. There we go. So cool. Yeah, it combined both of them into one file. I can see there are 0 conflicts remaining if I look right there. So I can complete merge. Cool. Let's commit. Okay, great. Get status. Looks good. Okay, great. So I've merged. Let's double check that though. I'm going to say open index.html. This would be like npm start normally. Okay, great. And there we go. With just that one conflict, we've got a pretty flawless looking merge of those 2 branches. So notice that we have Jay Goodman's changes, which was adding the cliff palaces down here, making the background black instead of white. We also have JGP's changes, right, which was adding the Knossos palace here with the dolphins, and making the images square instead of rectangles. So we have merged both collaborators' changes onto one page. And now that I've done that, I'm actually done with that branch. So these branches, they're gone. I'm not even going to worry about them anymore. They never even existed remotely. I won't actually delete them. But you can be done with those branches. And next time you're making a new feature, you make a new branch. You should treat these feature branches as pretty disposable. They're there to have one feature be made with them, and then you can get rid of them and make a new one when you're making a new feature. Okay, so that is that. That's yeah, collaborating via Git. If you want to screenshot these steps, I think that's a pretty good, reliable guide for how to do it. Enjoy the rest of your day.